Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Top Shelf Tech with the Instillery. My name is Christina McKenzie, and today we have a really important episode where we're talking to Rob Fisher and Sam Allen about elevating Aotearoa's future. Welcome, guys. Thanks for coming along.
Morning.
Hey, so today is a really special episode where we get to share an initiative that you've both been working on with a team of people that are passionate about it, called Elevating Aotearoa's Future. Rob, would you mind giving us a bit of an overview of what EAF is all about?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, from my perspective, it's a coalition of willing people who see a real gap in the number of Māori and Pacific people in particular in the ICT industry. It's, when you work in the industry, it's pretty obvious to you. It's apparent that we are underrepresented in that space. And I've got a real view that has real long-term consequences for Māori and Pacific people if we can't get better uptake. And, it's not an organisation. There's no real interest other than we need to do better for our people, and we need an industry that better reflects the communities that we work in and that we work with. And that's really the kaupapa from our perspective.
Fantastic. And so tell us a little bit, before we get into sort of why this is important and what it's aiming to do, can you talk to us a little bit about who is in that coalition with you and how you all came to work together?
Yeah, for sure. I think it started over a coffee with Sam, actually, at some point, some time ago, just meeting Sam, myself, and then, developing a conversation that has spanned and involved a number of different third parties now. So leaders from the industry, whether it being from, software vendors, cloud service providers, telecommunications. What we've found is the more people we talk to, the more people come to the fore with a viewpoint, a similar viewpoint around the gap that we're seeing out there. So we've got representatives from Amazon. We all know who that is, the biggest cloud services provider, I suppose, out there in some respects. Spark, Curious, ourselves from PwC. So it really is a bunch of passionate human beings that are seeing what they can do to leverage their position in the market and their organisations to help create a better future for Māori and Pacific.
Awesome. Hey, so Sam, since I started over a coffee with you, I might throw this one to you. Why does this this challenge in our industry matter to you personally?
I think I've been away for 18 years, came back to New Zealand, and the breadth of thought that builds great opportunity comes from the mix of people that I met overseas. So the last 8.5 years, I was working in London, and just different types of communities and the different thought processes that people brought from their own backgrounds really made amazing outcomes. And the pieces of work that I did and came back to New Zealand, the diversity, most probably in the workforce within the tech sector, wasn't there. And I'm passionate for New Zealand to really get up and get going, and to provide a great outcome for where we're going to go in the next 20 years. You'll hear many tech companies talking about this, but we either don't have the people to do it, or we don't have the expansive thought processes to be able to get us there. And we've got amazing people in New Zealand. And why aren't we leveraging everyone in New Zealand to these great outcomes within the tech industry? And so that's why it's passionate about me. How do we make New Zealand greater, and how do we get the experiences that people like myself have had overseas into New Zealand so that we are growing the tech sector and just the opportunity for everyone in New Zealand to have an equitable opportunity within work and within equal amounts of pay coming into households.
Fantastic. And I think you touched on the challenge that Elevating Aotearoa's Futures is addressing, Rob, earlier, but there's certainly an underrepresentation of a number of members of the community, wahine in particular, Māori and Pacifica, absolutely, Māori and Pacifica wahine. So, talk to me a little bit about, what is the specific challenges that this program is addressing outside of just trying to build better representation of talent in New Zealand?
Yeah, sure. I think if we look at the tech industry as a whole, we're talking about probably our fastest growing sector. I kind of hear it bounce between third and fourth in terms of our largest export. I think with COVID, we have no doubt it's certainly going to jump over the next 12 months in terms of where it sits on that scale, right? And one of the things COVID has taught us is that, it hits the vulnerable the hardest, right? So we are fortunate enough to work in this industry, Sam and I, and all the people that I mentioned before, and we are aware of all the privilege that brings us. I have a personal view that if we don't get more representation of those communities in ICT, we're locking them out of all the economic opportunities that exist within ICT. Highest paying industry, like I said, highly resilient, global, all the opportunities that it's brought me and my whānau. If we don't get that right, I think we will continue to grow the equity divide that already exists by locking Māori and Pacific people out of the ICT industry. Second to that is, in my mind, is how do we get more access to digital within the homes. I saw a report that came through from, I think it was Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei. They did it with Auckland University about the impact on rangatahi as part of their COVID engagement with their iwi, right? I think it was about 50% of those kids were using a mobile phone to learn. Now, I've got a daughter. She is year 12 at school. She was glued to her laptop. She's privileged. She has an opportunity to sit down and really just focus on learning so she can continue to do well at NCEA, et cetera, by not having those privileges in a number of Māori and Pacific households. The learning divide, the gap, the deceleration, I think that happens without access, particularly over COVID, will have long-term consequences, right? So in my mind, there's two major rocks here to solve. How do we get more access in homes? How do we get people just comfortable learning and using the digital capabilities, because it's not there and it's not in the homes that need it the most? And the second part is, how do we get that participation up so we can get more people thriving in what is an industry that's going to be there for a long time, and it's going to continue to grow, and it's going to continue to reap rewards for those who are in it. So in my view, a big part of solving the equation for Māori and Pacific, when we talk about the equity divide, is about getting higher income into those whānau and those homes.
Fantastic. And I think just to call out, I mean, we're going to go into this a bit more, but today what we're really asking for from Kiwi businesses is to get engaged and elevate Aotearoa's future, and actually put your name forward to take on some of these amazing, talented individuals that we're going to see come through the program. But I guess, the question I would love to hear your thoughts on is, this has been a problem for some time. There's nowhere near enough data on it. There's not been enough research on it, but we have known that it's an issue for some time. And I think a number of people have tried to solve this problem. What do you think is still the reason why this is such an issue in New Zealand today? And where have we failed? What's stopping us from achieving better representation in technology?
You want to pick that one up, Sam, to start with, and maybe you can build on it if you want. Again, this is Rob Fisher's view, and just what I see as being a Māori living in Māori communities, right? I think we need more role models in this space. We need to show rangatahi and tamariki that this is a career for you. You need to see people that look like them and sound like them and talk like them thriving in this industry, and seeing all the opportunities that it's given them and the cool stuff that we get to experience. I've traveled the world, been to the US, been all around with the different companies and the organizations that I've worked for. The industry's given me so much, but I think that with the lack of the lack of diversity we don't have enough people just showing these people from a young age. This is for us. We can thrive in this industry. It is something that we can participate and we can be successful in it. So I think that's why the real focus on my mind is uplifting those numbers, and I think really thinking about how we inspire and motivate more rangatahi to see the opportunities that exist within the sector. So I think that's a really important part from my end. To touch on your point also about the numbers, you're right. I haven't seen it. I see varying numbers come out about Māori and Pacific participation in ICT. It flows. I've seen some as low as 2, some as high as 8. I don't know, right? But just the eye test, the sniff test, it's obvious to me that we have a gap. And anyone who works in the industry, I think the industry are much more aware of it than necessarily outside the industry. That's why you're seeing pockets of industry start to focus on this, because we're lucky. We're further enough along in our careers now. We can start thinking about how we give back. And I think that's why you're seeing more and more focus on this, because it's an obvious gap to anyone who sits in meeting rooms within the ICT sector.
100%. And following on from what Rob's saying, like the common outcome from talking to people out in the community have been most companies are trying to hire people that have got the experience. I found this firsthand when I came back from living overseas, and people said, "Sorry, there's not a position for you because you don't have New Zealand experience." I went, "Oh, that's interesting." So I've got global experience working for very large international corporates, and it must be even harder for people that are trying to get in to the tech industry who don't have qualifications, that haven't worked for any tech companies whatsoever. And compound that even further when they don't have any of their whānau or anyone within their community that is also working in the tech sector where they see it as a viable opportunity. And then you've got apprenticeships on top of that, which don't really exist within the tech sector, especially within, in the competitive market where you've got a lot of people graduating, most probably with technology degrees, which are coming from families or areas that have actually had the money, so they've already got a privileged background. And so you're turning around and saying, we've got a lot of really skilled people here. How do we get them into tech to grow those gap capabilities that are sitting there? And talking to some Pacifica people recently, I was like, "How'd you get into tech?" And they're like, someone took a chance on me, and they saw the great skills that I've got that aren't necessarily from university, that I'm getting from X, Y, and Z. And they said, "Hey, I think you'd be great for this. Gave me a go," and they were right on the money, and now we've been able to see more people come through tech, through taking that risk. And I think that's one of those things. How do tech companies find the support to be able to say, "Hey, I'm going to try a different avenue in terms of my hiring. It's not just going to be the people that have come through with masters or doctorates from technology courses at Auckland University or Waikato or Dunedin or Otago. What about people that really just have the natural ability and natural skills? And it changes households, it changes communities, it changes generations, by offering those opportunities through apprenticeships like this."
Yeah, I agree.
That's fantastic. And I know it's one of the things I love about working at the Instillery is that we're prepared to look at our hiring processes differently. And so it was no shock to me when Mike Jenkins let us know that we were supporting an event like this, an initiative like this, sorry. So look, that's a great segue into what is Elevating Aotearoa's Future, and what is the program, what is it offering, and who is it for?
Great, I'll take that one, Rob. So Elevating Aotearoa's Future is for Maori and Pacifica specifically. So we're targeting people that wouldn't necessarily gone through university before, and being able to get the opportunity to go on a 3-month course to be able to learn the skills to be able to become a data consultant for cloud technology. They would have been skilled up to be able to be effective in the workforce for any. We'll also make sure that they come out with no debt. That's huge, right? They're going to come out with an assured job at the end of this, and they're going to be able to cover the bills that their family or their household may have during this time, so they're not going to have to give up work. It's a full-time commitment for a 12-month contract with an employer. In the first 3 months is a full-time training, so it's face-to-face. It's 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, to be able to learn the skills, to be able to hit the ground running and set them up for a future within data and cloud consultancy within the tech sector. And the first intake is only 20 people. And it's 20 people so that it's concise, it's a control group that gets the most benefit out of the trainers that we're able to bring over from Australia to be able to lead this course. It's been effective over in Australia to be able to build the capability and build people, and to be able to see good outcomes for organizations that take on these people. So that's the course, that's what we're looking for. And now we just need companies to put up their hand and to be able to take on 20 placements. So 20, 12-month, full-time, contract positions for data consultants. We know that the opportunity exists out there for companies to be able to grow in this area. So there's no lack of need to be able to bring these people on. And then once we've got those employees, we can start finding those candidates to be able to come on board and be able to pair with those organizations to be able to see them grow and add that value to their bottom line.
I think too, from my perspective, I love the model because I'm someone who didn't go to university. So I've been really lucky in my career for someone just to take a chance, like Sam said. That was me, some time ago. and just seeing the opportunities it's given me, being able to thrive in the work environments and just everything that's been afforded to me and my whānau. I love the model of what EAF is looking at. So, yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if one day in the not too distant future, we're not talking about taking a chance, but actually rewarding employers for smart hiring decisions that we know work well and that is tested, rather than seeing it as an anomaly, but as a legitimate HR recruitment strategy to look at talent in this way.
I think you're seeing that more and more too. Like as our industry's matured, we have the luxury of, more and more people with, I suppose the hardcore technical skills. But what we often look for as employers is the soft skills, right? Confidence to engage with human beings. The reality is we're just making something. Technology is just the medium for doing that, right? You still need to make sure that service, that product, what you're doing, is going to resonate and be fit for purpose for human beings. And I find more and more that is the differentiating factor for success when we hire people, is their confidence in themselves, their ability to work as part of a team. All those soft skills become really important. And in my mind, accelerate people with those skills, really accelerate within the professional working environment in ICT. Yeah.
Oh, 100% agree with you there. I have a background in behavioural psychology, marketing communications, and started off in finance. If you had told me I would be doing business development for an IT services integrator in cloud, then I would have told you were crazy. But it's absolutely that ability to be curious and work together, right? And care. I think ultimately the best people in our industry really care, and they understand the responsibility of it being in a technology and the impact that actually has on the way people interact with the world around them. So we need 20 businesses and digital leaders to get on board. How can they get on board?
Super easy. The great thing is it's on your screen right down there right now. So if you visit eaf.kiwi, and all you got to do is register your interest. Go to the employer page and just fill in the contact form at the bottom and let us know you're interested, and we can take it from there. And it's only 20 people that we need to put up their hand to say, hey, we're willing to back this. And the cost is the same as if you took on any young person into your organization and train them from scratch. So it's a 1-year commitment. The expectation is $75,000, so it's $60,000 that you'd normally pay an intern. You'd usually pay someone to be able to go and find that intern for you, and then you'd pay for training on top of that, which would usually equate to $60,000 plus about $15,000 all up, so a $75,000 commitment. So if that's you, and you want to be able to grow your data consultancy capability, and you're willing to be able to grow New Zealand's capability and Marion Pacifica capability in this area, please jump on the website, get in touch, and we'll be right in touch with you.
Awesome. And like you say, there is no shortage. Again, working in business development in this industry, there is no shortage of opportunity in this space. And these talented individuals aren't falling from the sky. We can't grow them fast enough. So this is a much needed course and a much needed initiative, not just for the social good aspect, but 100% for the commercial return as well. Would you agree?
100%. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, the Instillery is in, and thank you guys so very much for joining us today. It's been an inspiring chat, and thank you for doing something about this and working with us in this space. And if there's anything else you want to say to the people listening, now's your time. It's really just sign up, isn't it, team?
Absolutely. Sign up. It's the way that the only way that New Zealand is going to grow. It's the way that we're going to create a stronger industry and a stronger New Zealand in the future by growing our own. We can't import people anymore. And why should we, when we've got great people in New Zealand that we can train up to be great, not only for New Zealand companies, but also in the future when they can go out and create great impacts out in the world, growing greater startups, growing stronger industry for New Zealand, providing greater outcomes for families. Get on board.
Cool. Oh, thanks so much, guys. And to everybody listening, you heard them, sign up, eaf.kiwi. And thank you for tuning in to Top Shelf Tech.
Awesome.